All right, welcome back to Hypotheticals. Once again, we're recording from an undisclosed location due to the amount of fan intensity we're both experiencing on the daily. How are you
We've
going,
had
Tom?
to we've had to relocate multiple times. I may or may not be out of the country.
Uh-huh.
I've had to get a burner passport. Actually, I've had to upgrade. Last episode, I just had a burner phone. Now I've got a clean skin passport. But we're here and we're committed, so let's get into it.
Yeah, and I'm recording out of one of three identical studios. I'm not disclosing which one it is for my own personal safety. So we're pretty locked in. But anyway, thanks for all the fan support, everybody. We appreciate it to some degree, but it is getting a bit much, you know. But what can we do?
We're not even into the regular season yet, and we'd ask people just to respect our and our family's privacy, and just we'll keep bringing the content so long as we're able.
Well, speaking of privacy, someone who's taken a bit of private time recently is Draymond Green, and we call that a segue in the business. So I don't know if you saw the Draymond Green video, Tom. Did you see the footage leaked?
Just because I've been in so many undisclosed locations, I've been living under a rock and in a cave, and I'm the only person in the entire world who hasn't seen Draymond Green absolutely level Mr. Of course I've seen it, Jez. Of course I've seen it, mate. Yes, Jordan
Every
Poole,
angle.
I've seen him get black eye, busted chin, whatever it was. I think that is the quickest anyone's seen Draymond move in his entire career. And maybe the last time we'll see him move. But yeah, I did see the footage, and wow, so much to discuss.
Yeah, I like that people said that's it's the best shot Draymond's thrown in 2 years. Yeah, not wrong. So as we all know, for those who may have missed that but are listening to this for some reason, if you are somehow in those two circles in a Venn diagram and you're the one person, obviously he went up and punched Jordan Poole, and we've heard today that actually may have knocked Jordan Poole out. That's the new findings on the video. So
I didn't hear that. I've heard many other things, but not that he actually knocked him out. So that's pretty insane. To be fair, though, I'm not surprised. He went at it even though it was shot, and I don't know why it's always like this. It's like a UFO video. I felt like it was filmed on a toaster, and it's like, how does this look so grainy? Like, maybe I guess because it was zoomed in because it was like a whole gym shot. But part of me thought in the back of my head, I'm like, did no one have the new Google Pixel 7? Please sponsor us, Google. Why did no one have even a 3-year-old iPhone or something to cut that?
Yeah, if they're using that tape in practice later, they're not even going to be able to see who's who. You know, it's like the footage was that blurry. It was like the JFK assassination footage. It was that quality.
Right out, mate. If I had $1 for every pixel, I'd have about 25 cents. And it was just, I felt like the first 5 seconds of that footage, I was trying to just pick out who the players were. Mm-hmm. And then by the time I'd sort of worked it, if someone said that was anyone else, Jordan, other than Jordan Poole, I probably wouldn't even have known. Yeah. I just saw Draymond Green just get someone. And it's like, well, I guess that's what it is.
Another thing that before we get into, I have a conspiracy theory about that. This is why I'm bringing it up, just for the audience. But another thing I liked about it as well is as Draymond's heading over, people seem totally unfazed as well. I think Steph is still looking at what's happening on the court. Meanwhile, there must be yelling happening, but he must just do this so regularly that people are just yeah.
I was really struck by how there was a lack of intervention right before the punch. I think there was one coach or trainer or whatever who put an arm up to feign some sort of keep your distance sort of idea. But yeah, it seemed like they weren't even really talking, and then Draymond just lashed out. I would love to get that audio. So if whoever's now being fired by the Golden State Warriors media team, if you have that audio, please hit us up for an exclusive, because we'd love that.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair though, if the video quality is that bad, that audio quality has got to sound like it's on dial-up internet. I've got to imagine.
I'll take it, mate.
Yeah, you gotta wonder, like, aren't the Golden State Warriors in Silicon Valley? Like, how is the technology for that not, like, super slow-mo, HD, 4K resolution?
Mate, for the amount of luxury tax they're no doubt paying, you'd think that they could afford a camcorder that was made in this century. And, some even at least a boom mic, would suffice. I'm not saying that everyone needs to be mic'd up for that, but jeez.
All right, so here's my conspiracy theory. So, we saw, just to give everyone just a recap of the timeline, we heard like 2 days before the footage came out that Draymond had punched Jordan Poole, and then everyone was kind of like, that's annoying. Maybe you'll get fined, whatever. There was it like the Warriors were like, it's not that bad. That was kind of the initial media story narrative that was put out. Then
we're used to it as Milwaukee Bucks supporters, seeing as Bobby Portis has laid into a previous teammate on the Bulls, so nothing really bothered us. But sorry, go on, mate.
Yeah, so we get that story. Then the footage comes out, and it's totally different to what we're expecting based on like the media narrative before that. And obviously it's huge news. We all see it. It's everywhere. It's on every single basketball account I follow. Like even like I feel like one of the Bucks fan pages put it up. They're just like, "Do you guys see this?" So it was.
You know what I love as well about Bucks fan pages? You see that. Oh, did you see this? And then you see proposed trades to get Draymond. You're like, guys, come on, this is a joke.
So it comes out, and then the Warriors come out saying, we don't know how this happened. Whoever, we're putting out a big notice. Whoever did this, watch out. You're basically being fired, potentially sued, all this kind of stuff. This is totally unacceptable. Draymond then takes a couple of days to basically take himself off the team. Yeah,
Feel his knuckles. Yep,
that's it. Put some ice on the hand there. Make sure that's ready for the regular season so he can brick shots again.
It was the shooting hand, mate. So you can't, with the amount of shots he's taking both on and off the court, you can't be playing fast and loose with this kind of thing.
Yeah. So anyway, my theory was, right, so I wonder, and also, I don't know, did you see the Steve Kerr interview after that, the media interview he did?
No, I've just read bits. I haven't actually seen any other footage.
So there's one bit that kind of stood out. It was media day, so he was just up at the podium, and one of the reporters asked "Oh, do you think obviously Draymond's had a lot of these types of incidents. Is this going to be one that you think has gone too far, and do you think you'll expect to see him on the team again?" And Steve Kerr took a moment and then just said no comment, and he was furious. You could tell he was really, really cooking. So that was kind of interesting. Also people are fully aware Draymond Green has his own podcast, right, where he says a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's sort of not helpful to him or the people he's talking about. He's done stuff where he's put Steve Kerr and the owner of the GM of the Golden State Warriors, he's called them out before on his podcast and whatever. And generally, obviously, we know he gets under the skin of a lot of people, be it on his own team sometimes or, as it were.
I mean, I'm surprised he didn't get teed up in practice, mate. I mean, man.
But anyway, so this is my thoughts, right? So here's the evidence that I'm looking at, okay? And I'm just going to tell you the conclusion I've drawn. So we've got all of the stuff that I've just said. We've got, this is the last year of his contract, okay? And he is eligible for a max contract coming up into next season. He's also sort of degrading as a player. He did have a couple playoff games where he was useless. Sort of maybe even a negative to the team.
Lots of triple singles.
Yeah, a lot of triple singles. And also Jordan Poole is also up for a max contract next season as well. Right, so these are all things to keep in mind. Now, Now, I was wondering, if you put some of these pieces together, do you think it makes sense that the Warriors leaked the tape? Because here's why, right? And this is why I'm thinking this, okay? This is my conspiracy hat, so everybody grab your alfoil tin hat here. Here's why I think this. Because there's a chance, he's getting a bit worse, right, as a player. His shooting is definitely getting worse, for sure. Other stuff is probably staying about the same, but he's becoming more public. and that is creating a few more problems for the organization. He is very aggressive, and he is going to expect a max contract, which the Warriors have to consider going forward. Do we want to pay him that because he's been a great teammate for us, and we've won 4 championships with him, but we don't know if we can do it going forward? But should we just do it because he's been so good to us? He deserves it, right? That's a call they have to make this offseason. For me, it makes sense they did like it because it only benefits the Warriors in a couple of ways. One, he knows he has to behave himself this season, right? Because he can't keep doing this. He knows already they have enough grounds to be like, we're just going to trade you. This is too much. He's already there. So if he does anything else this season, they have total reason to not give him this contract and be like, we're just going to trade you for Jay Crowder or something. Like, we'll work it out, but you're out of here.
Take that.
Yeah. B, it's like it gives them another chip going to the negotiating table next year, being like, look, you've caused a lot of problems for us. We don't want to give you the max, but maybe we want to give you something else. Would you be happy to accept something else? Because it's just too much. You've done a lot of positives, but also a lot of negatives. Do you want to, you can go to Detroit if you want for a max. That's up to you, but we're happy to keep you on the team, but maybe for a bit less, So that could be another thing. And then I think also it just gives them throughout the year more general control over what he does and how he behaves because he's on such a tight leash before the season's even started. Anyway, this is, and if they have to make the tough call at the end of the season, they also can be like, well, he was too much of a distraction. So anyway, these are my conspiracy theory thoughts about that. I just want to get your take.
Yeah. I am not, I'm not adverse to that at all. And I think the reason for that is this is probably single-handedly devalued him more than anything else in his career, because I think the thing that makes this situation so unique is that it happened in training. Like if it was in a game, you could like chalk it up to the moment, the passion, it was a close game, whatever. Whereas the fact that there's no other footage about like we don't know if Jordan Poole was like haunting him all day. You know what I mean? Like you have no idea all you see is like Draymond like chatting, bang, knocks him out.
Mm-hmm.
So like this has devalued him so much. The other thing is that everyone knows, like Golden State Warriors know, he knows, everyone knows that the second he leaves that team, he will never get the money he would have gotten if he stayed at the Golden State Warriors. Like no one's going to pay him. In my opinion, no one's going to pay him like what he could get at Golden State Warriors. Like he would instantly just be, I think he would turn into like a worse version of a Jay Crowder that can't shoot, basically. And yeah, so I don't know. Did it get leaked? This is like one of those things where it's like you'll never be able to prove it, but kind of probably happened. So, like, and that's the thing. Do you know what I also find curious, Jeff? Is the Golden State Warriors, they put out a public notification of like threatening their media team or firing their media team, which to me seems like a really weird move. Like, because if you were really serious about actually finding who leaked this, like, I don't know how big their media team is. It can't be bigger than like 20 or 30 people, surely. Like people who have access to this information, people who are like editing videos, like even for an NBA team that size, there's no way there's more than like 30 people on that, like who are video editors, right?
Totally.
But if that's a relatively small team, you could, this is an internal issue. You know what I mean? The fact that they externally put that out screams to me that they just did that to show like, we're taking it seriously. We're taking the necessary steps to like make sure this doesn't happen again. It's just like classic corporate sort of like grandstanding. Like it's virtue signaling, saying, "Oh, we don't stand for this kind of thing." But if they really wanted to do something, so for that reason, it makes me think that like it wouldn't surprise me if they were just like, "Oh, it just slipped out," and someone could get let go or whatever quietly, you know what I mean? And yeah, I think that what they'll do is they'll just send him out to the market because his market value's just gone down. And I reckon he'll spend the next maybe 3 years, three different teams, 1 year contracts. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for him.
Yeah, because I don't know, because what is his value? He's like, to me, he's on a similar kind of trajectory offensively as Westbrook. You know, like to me, it's like sort of similar.
He's not as athletic though. That's the difference.
But he is a better defender, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's a bit, yeah, I don't know, and he's a bit more. I think he's a better decision maker than Westbrook. I think Westbrook sometimes is a little. Like as a point guard, I like him a bit more than Westbrook, but he obviously can't shoot. But so I don't know. I think of teams that he could be good for because he's a good he's like I think sometimes like something like the Hawks or something with Trae Young could maybe use him because then if you're in the Eastern second round of the playoffs and you're going against Giannis, at least he's someone you can throw at Giannis. Like he's like one of those types of players. But yeah, he's kind of confusing because he's so easy to leave alone on offense.
Yeah, I could see him make the rounds on a couple of small market teams like that. I think what's going to hurt him is that he probably doesn't want to. Like, I think he would actually have a good like leadership role potentially on like a Hornets, Hawks, even like Pacers or like a Kings. These kind of teams that are sort of bubbling under the surface. They've got potential, but they haven't sort of taken that next step. Maybe they have a little bit of tap that they can, blow on him. But yeah, I don't think he'll want to do it. I think I saw something the other day, which you probably saw, which is like Draymond to the Lakers, which seems like the biggest Lakers move I could ever imagine. And I don't want to turn this into another episode of hypothetical blast the Lakers for being the worst franchise in sporting history. But geez, if that doesn't seem like the most Lakers move ever, then I don't know what is.
I feel like, so just on the Lakers quickly. So as we I think we're gonna have to just transition over to the Lakers. That's a beautiful segue. So obviously everyone, aside from the Draymond footage, we've all seen the Victor Wembanyama footage. Wow. That's all you can say. That's really it.
I mean, my favorite shot is that photo of him and Rudy Gobert. And Rudy looks like he's like shorter uncle or something like that. Like he makes him just look like, and you have to remember, you're like, nah, this dude's huge. Like crazy.
So with that, I think that what's good for the Lakers is that a lot of people are going to tank this year, right? So they're going to want to get rid of their good players, which is great for the Lakers because they have someone they want to trade for good players, right? And picks, obviously. So this Victor Wembanyama thing actually works for the Lakers, but I think you're right. It does scream that they're going to make the wrong decision. Like, they're going to have options here to replace Russell Westbrook and their future picks with a good player or two good players. Yeah. Like, this is the situation they're facing. From all the teams that are going to tank, they can take any good player basically from there, because those teams just want to be awful. So, but I do see them doing something like this where they like throw all their chips in and they get Jay Crowder or something. You're like, it's good, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't say, like, there's that trade that people are kind of floating around, which I don't think makes sense for the Pacers, but it's Westbrook for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, which would be great for the Lakers because it fills a lot of problems they have. They've got a shooter, they got a center, that makes a lot of sense.
As well, like Westbrook, it just screams washed up. Yeah. Like he just reminds me of every actor from the 90s that just didn't make it. Like it's just, he just screams 5 o'clock shadow, like of basketball.
Yeah, he like, and the thing is, I think with Westbrook, he's also that kind of, everyone's played with a guy like this in street ball. The guy that just hogs the ball and then it's just like he misses a layup and he yells foul or something. You're like, no one was even near you, dude. Or like just bricks a three.
Takes the contested like airball three and you're like, there were 3 shooters open. Yeah, nah, dude. Also, the tricky thing is that those people in street ball and Westbrook actually have a modicum of like athleticism, can make the right decision, but just routinely choose like the selfish option, and it's so frustrating to play with, but so funny to watch.
Also, Yeah, speaking of the Westbrook, have you seen these Westbrook videos that have gone around the last couple of days? Like the one where Pat Bev is trying to get him into a team huddle.
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
brilliant.
there was another one that came out today. It's him on the Lakers bench, and he's just like sort of looks like he's warming up, and someone pans from him just by himself on the Lakers bench, and he pans, and the rest of the team is in a huddle on the court doing something, and
Ooh.
he's just walking around by himself, and you're like, so you don't want to. So he's definitely getting traded, which does factor into my ladders that we've done, predicting the ladders for the end of the season. That does factor into that. I'm going to be honest. For later.
Yeah, I saw a video of him the other day, like throwing the ball with the inbound. Did you see that? They were playing like I think it was like the Timberwolves or something. I didn't even know who the player was, and like they scored a bucket, and he's pushed this guy out of the way who was scoring a layup, and then he throws the ball at Westbrook. Westbrook just pegs the ball back at him. He throws it back at Westbrook. Westbrook throws it back at him. He just then kicks it, just like literally kicks it, and it's like, Westbrook, are you actually 6 years old? Like, what is happening? Like,
But
yeah.
on the plus side though, that's the least selfish play he had all game.
I think he got confused and thought he was trying to like getting assists or something like that, and just it didn't happen. But yeah, I don't know what he's like. I don't know why he does that, but whatever.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah. That's yeah. Well, let's. You know what? Let's. I was gonna do this LeBron Curry thing, but I think I want to save that for another episode, maybe later. So I think I want to jump into the idea. One of the ideas you had, which was, we'll get to our ladder at the end. I think what our predictions for the end of the regular season is going to be. But before then, I think this is an important one to take in and to consider before we go into that final one, which is, I was thinking about this, and you were thinking about this as well. It's to do with Brooklyn's big three, and we were both specifically talking about Ben Simmons. And for me, I wanted to get your thoughts on what do you think each of their mentality is going into this season?
I have a hot take.
I love this.
And I actually think Ben Simmons is going to have the season that he should have had all of his NBA career. I think this actually is going to be a great season for him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's got that chip on his shoulder, but in a good way. And I actually think he's grown a lot because he just has gotten literally so much crap dumped on him. I think he's kind of like loosened the shackles of caring. I'll make a quick aside. I feel like it's kind of almost become laughable how much people hate on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's at a shoot around, and you would have seen this in our like group chat the other day, but like he's at a shoot around with kids. Like he's meeting just fans. Like this is the most wholesome thing that NBA players can do. Dude's not even playing one-on-one. He's just like throwing up shots and hits an air ball, and everyone lays into it. I'm just like, who hasn't? I just thought it was so funny. Like, who hasn't hit an air ball in their life ever? Like, I don't know. Yeah, so my hot take is that he's going to have an incredible season. As far as, like, what the big three are thinking, I actually think there's, like, a lot less animosity between that team than what everyone thinks. I get the sense that, like, yes, their culture might not be great, but I think that's mostly come from the fact that there's been a lot of trades and not a lot of that core has played together a lot. Like, I don't know if you remember, but like Kyrie and KD only played 17 games together in the last season, which when you think about it is crazy. Yeah. Like they've both been on that team for like what seems like a while now. And the fact that they've only played 17 games is just wild. So like, I think there's still like chemistry stuff that needs to get worked out, but like, I don't know, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, like they've been teammates for a while now. Like they know each other. Even like Patty Mills, obviously knows Ben quite well, like being countrymen. So like, I don't think it's as dire as everyone thinks. I actually think they probably feel like they're genuine contenders in the East. And as much as it pains me to say, as a Bucks supporter, especially coming off that preseason game yesterday, I actually think they could be kind of deadly. Like, I can't see any reason why, especially when Joe Harris and Seth come back, why they wouldn't be genuinely scary. So, yeah, I feel like their biggest problem is just on-court chemistry, not like personal kind of chemistry. But what do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's what do you think's more likely? Like, do you think it's based on that? It sounds like you'd think like if there's two options that they either have, like if there was only two options that they either have a really really good season and it all clicks how it, like on paper should,
Yeah.
or they have a disaster of a season and like Steve Nash gets fired and whatever. Which one do you think is
Yeah.
more likely?
I think Ben Simmons Defensive Player of the Year. Put it down.
Nice.
Book it. Book it. That's what I think, mate. Book it. That's what I think.
Wow.
I think again, Steve Nash, I think is actually like a pretty half decent coach. I think he's done more like stakeholder management than actual coaching, which is not his fault. So I think he's actually I think he's earned his place like in that organization. So, but yeah, what do you think? Like, do you feel like they're just going to tank again? Like too many injuries, too many like ISO star plays, that kind of thing?
I think I don't know. I think that I agree with you. I think they're going to be really good this season. I think because everyone on that team is kind of has a lot to prove. Like this is one of the teams that has the most people with the most to prove, really, because everything from the coach to like the GM who's brought in Ben Simmons and traded Harden, and now finally Simmons is playing. Kyrie has a lot to prove because he didn't get this big contract he wanted. So he's like actually going to be playing to be like, I want to show like I'm still a great player. And KD has just watched the Warriors win without him. And he got swept in the first round, So I think,
and the other thing, just watching the game yesterday, like people forget that both KD and Kyrie are just like still so dominant. Like they're still so. I mean, KD was automatic. He looked great, and I don't even think he got that many points, but he just looked great. So I don't know, man. Like especially as soon as Joe Harris and Steph come back, which I might add, I think they're both in they're both definitely in the top 10 best career 3-point shooters in NBA history, maybe even top 5.
Like percentage-wise and stuff.
Yeah, like career percentage, I mean. Like, not total made, but like career percentage. Which like, they're a shooting machine, that team. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very fascinating. It's just also one of those teams that if one thing goes wrong, I can see it derailing the whole like season, like I can see one thing being enough to snap this. Because even though it does technically feel like they're all going to be really playing hard, I can also see that there's a lot of pressure on all of them here, and if something goes wrong, it can be enough to kind of maybe shatter the team a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. They do seem fragile. They do seem like they could fall, but I don't know. The other thing we have to remember is that there is actually like pedigree there. There is experience. Like, I would say there's enough age and championship experience there for them to be actually kind of. I'll put it this way: like as a Bucks fan, I don't really want to see them in the first or second round. Do you know what I mean? And that, like, I'm not really interested in playing them unless it has to be a conference finals or something like that. Because to be honest, it feels like it'd be 7 games, and I'm like, if we're being really fair, the only reason we won was because Joe Harris missed a 3. Yeah. Like, and because KD put his toe on the line. But like, so we had a little bit of good luck and they had some injuries, which always happens. Like that's how teams win series. Fine, doesn't devalue it, but like that could go the other way. Like I could see Chris Middleton definitely doing the same thing. I could see Giannis fouling out. I could see Drew just, missing some threes. Like, and all of a sudden Nets are through. So I don't want to speak that over our team because we're coming back and it's going to be it. It's going to get that second ring for Giannis and Thanasis. So
yeah. Well, just speaking of mentality and stuff, actually, I might go to. Let's just do this LeBron thing. Why not?
Come on.
Why not? Okay, so this is another conspiracy theory, or at least a theory, because I saw people kind of questioning this, and I just wanted to get your.
I love you said conspiracy theory or just theory, not really conspiracy, just general theory. So,
look, I'll let the audience determine if it's conspiracy theory or not. But with LeBron, okay, like he's in a bit of a weird situation right now because obviously
Right.
at the end of the day, in an ideal world, he'd have 6 rings. Or at least, or 7, in an ideal world, he'd be better than Jordan, like he's definitely fixed. He was at least for one point really fixated on that GOAT debate, am I the GOAT? Who's the GOAT? He would talk about it a lot. I'm the GOAT, he said a lot of times, I think, and then more recently, he's been talking a lot about Golden State and the Warriors and Steph Curry specifically about how good they are. They also have the same amount of rings as he does, 4 rings at this point. I wonder... Also, I'm starting to get that Melbourne flash flooding rain happen right now. I was just looking out. I was like, "Ooh, sorry."
Whoa. You have to get the tinny out, mate, or you're all right?
I don't know.
Also, you've just given away the undisclosed location, mate.
Oh, no.
You might want to...
Anyway, we're going to have to cut the feed.
It could be... It could be Melbourne, America. There's a Melbourne in America, right?
But yeah, so anyway, he started talking about Steph Curry a lot more recently, and I wondered if it's for a couple of reasons, okay? So I heard from the reporter Brian Windhorst. He said that the 2015 title that they won, the Warriors won against the Cavs, where Delhi was the point guard because Kyrie was injured, and it was the first Golden State win. LeBron still in his head kind of counts that as his title because he's like, if I had Kyrie, we would have won, right? In his head, that's how he sees it. So it's like kind of like a half ring for him.
Bit of hate on Delhi. Don't love that. Delhi, mate, most underrated dude on that team, but whatever.
And he had one of the strangest jump shots in that era, and it was a thing of beauty. He cocked it fully behind his head and would throw and chuck it almost.
It's pure. It's pure. I put it this way: I'd take him on that contract. Look at 1 year at the Bucks. Dude could just lock down whoever's a guard. The man's a menace.
Yeah, like he used to shoot the basketball like if you're throwing a huge stone off a cliff, like it just kind of like over the head. That's kind of the vibe he was giving, but it was a sniper, so I can't deny that.
I want to see him in the 3-point contest, mate.
That's it. But anyway, so more recently, LeBron's been talking a lot more about Steph. Picked him first, I think, in one of the All-Star games and stuff like that. And less of a rivalry now, more of like a camaraderie. And I wonder if it's for one of the following reasons. I want to get your thoughts on it. I think it's for when he does the Last Dance LeBron edition, which is obviously going to get made at some point, right? Like, he's got such a long career. I wonder if it's to make it seem like he was going up against someone who was kind of like in that GOAT category, and the reason he didn't win so much was because he was literally facing one of the top 3 NBA players of all time, and stuff happens. And potentially B, I want to get your thoughts on this, maybe towards the end of the career, when he's like, and like say Draymond leaves and Golden State is sort of down a small forward or a power forward type. He's like, you know what? I reckon maybe the Warriors lose in some sort of embarrassing fashion. He's like, you know what? Let's team up and beat these. Yeah, let's beat these young kids. We'll show them how it's done. It's like a veterans team now. They're all the vets. They team up, and because he's been putting them kind of in his good books, he's like on the team. What do you reckon? Thoughts on that?
My only problem with that is I think that Steph is probably like, nah, I'm still good. Like, I don't know about you, but watching Steph play in the finals last year, just the whole playoffs really, in my head I thought, this dude's got so much left in the tank. Like, he's really shooting as good as ever. He can still finish at the rim and still like assist and whatever. So like I feel like LeBron's biggest problem is like getting there on the little money that they'd be able to pay him. But yeah, man, I mean, basically, again, the most LeBron move ever is to try and get that like sunset championship, which I feel like that train and ship and any means of transport has sailed and has left the station. I feel like there's no way he's getting another ring, to be honest with you. But yeah, I feel like he's definitely trying to butter up some people and maybe try and get like that final year. Kind of like I'm feeling like an MJ MJ 2000 goes to, was it the Wizards he go to? Or I'm feeling like that could be a LeBron vibe in like when's his contract up? Is he still got like a year or two on it?
No, he just re-signed. So,
Oh, he just re-signed.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I could see him. I could see him trying to pull that and go for like the win, like sign with like the Heat again, or even the Cavs, mate. Actually, let's go here. So I was reading this the other day. I was hearing the other day that like he's gonna come back to the Cavs again
Yeah.
and try and like bring another ring back.
The trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. Like Return of the Sith, mate. And that doesn't actually strike me as the most outlandish idea. It just seems like something that Cleveland would actually be open to. And I can actually see them clearing out their roster to accommodate for that.
That would be a disaster.
So yeah, that would be.
Their team is so. I love their team.
Yeah, I know, and I actually feel like they're one of the more exciting like younger teams at the moment, and could actually like be a bit of an upset. I would love to see them knock out the 76ers in the first round. That would just be beautiful. But yeah, no, I think what he's going to do, he's going to do a few more years at the Lakers, and then try and get like a final like last dance ditch and go to like the Cavs, maybe the Heat, but probably the Cavs. That's my take. I don't think he'll go to the Warriors.
All right, so now we're going to look at what we both think the ladders of each conference are going to look like at the end of the season. I have to say, when I was doing this one, it was hard because there's so many good players on good teams. And actually, like, when I was doing the West, I was like, there's going to be, like, an okay team that doesn't make the play-in. Like, they don't even make the play-in, you know? So it's kind of fascinating.
It's this weird mix this season of, like, teams are as balanced as ever. Like, there's so much talent, so many potential upsets, but then people are also weirdly looking at tanking their seasons. And like there's like that's become a thing to like tank to get a good draft pick. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm really interested to see if like halfway like All-Star break or whatever, teams just give up and they're like, we're just resting. Like we're just giving it all rookies, like all bench players, third stringers. So yeah, anyway, let's go.
Let's do it. All right, so I'm going to start with the bottom of my East bracket, okay? So this is going to be the people that are below the play-in. I just want to get your thoughts and if you agree with this. So I think in the East, there's 11 teams that want to make it to at least the play-in my opinion. And I just want to get your thoughts. So one of them is not going to make it, obviously. Here is who I have in the bottom bracket of the East. So I've got, in this order as well, the Knicks, the Magic, the Pistons, the Hornets, and then Indiana. So that's 11 through to 15 in that order. What do you think of that?
I mean, the Magic are a heaping crash fire. And I want to take every opportunity to pile onto that steaming crap that is that franchise. And I'm just going to remind our faithful listeners, as we always do, that they are somehow the most brandless team in the NBA. That are sponsored by Disney. So never miss an opportunity to play some crap on the Magic. I actually feel like the only one I really disagree is like the Hornets. I feel like I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to be anything special, but bottom bracket seems a little. I see them as like a consistent play-in. Like they are in a special new brand of NBA team, which is consistently at the. What is playing like 9? So 8th and 9th or something?
No, it's 10 to 7.
10 to 7. Yeah, right. Yeah, I see them as like consistently in that bracket. But hey, let's move on.
So the only reason I put the Hornets down that low is because they lost. Was it Miles Bridges? Their other person who was kind of good behind LaMelo Ball because he was in like a domestic abuse thing. So he's out. I think he's just not in the NBA anymore. And I don't know who else they really have. I think it's like Miles Plumlee. It's like kind of just like this hodgepodge of randoms.
Yeah, but I feel like they have a higher ceiling than other teams, and I get the sense that like, you know, trade deadline, you know, maybe even like a Jay Crowder, like those kind of players might be attracted to the Hornets because of LaMelo Ball. Like they've got such a ticket in LaMelo Ball. And I feel like they could get a few veteran 3-and-D dudes You know, might even get a PJ Tucker sighting one year. That kind of thing. So I see them as like a play-in team. But I know what you're saying. Like, it's kind of like name any other player on the Hornets that isn't LaMelo Ball or Mason Plumlee. And if Mason Plumlee is your second offensive option, you got some questions to answer.
It's the big three in Charlotte. Also,
The big three.
yeah, the thing that I kind of feel about the Hornets, I want to get your thoughts on this. I kind of feel like the Hornets are like the East Kings, where it's like they're always just going to make some weird decisions that don't necessarily make sense. Like, they'll have young talent, but it for me, if there's any year for them to tank, it's this year. You may as well, because like LaMelo and Wembanyama work together, because you've got one who loves throwing assists, you got one who loves getting buckets. So that makes sense. But to me, I think you're right. It would make sense for them to just not tank this year for some reason and be like, you know what, let's really go for it. And they end up in like the 10th spot with no good draft pick. Because that's also what I'm kind of seeing the Kings doing. It's like, if the Kings have a year to really tank, they haven't made the playoffs for ages. This is a great year to do it. I feel like they're not going to do it.
But I feel like you want to make your team look attractive, though. Like, you want to be like, we can win. We have potential. That's the thing that I kind of am thinking with the Hornets. Like, you want to make it look like, hey, in like 2 or 3 years, we could actually be like the Hawks a few years ago, somehow make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Yeah, that's my problem with tanking, which is like, you might get a good pick, but you also just make your team lose a lot, which I don't know if teams are meant to lose a lot. Like, that seems like a really backwards way to go about winning more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. I think a team that really got affected by that, and I think like this year will be interesting to see how they get out of it, is the 76ers, because they lost a lot and they haven't been out of the second round, and they had like a heap of first overall picks or top 3 picks, who were good players, but I think the mentality was broken in that franchise because they were like, we can take games off, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you don't have like that desire to hustle and work and whatever. So, we're getting bogged down in our first bracket. Let's move let's move along.
All right. So, second bracket. Okay, so this is our play-in the East. Okay, here's who I have in the play-in.
Okay.
In the 10th spot, the Bulls. In the 9th spot, the Wizards. In the 8th spot, the Hawks, and in the 7th spot, the Celtics.
I don't know why you think the Raptors are not any one of those positions. You are on some of the wacky tobacco, my guy. I mean, sorry. Can you just? Can you just take me?
Right,
I'm
gonna walk through all these decisions. I'll go through it for you. Right. So number 10, the Bulls. Okay, Lonzo can barely walk at this point, so he's not coming back this season. He's fair. Out.
All right.
I just don't know what's going on with this team. Vooch seems like he's kind of washed up now, which I don't love because he's not really a defensive center. So like if they for example, if they play the Bucks again, they're gonna get smoked. And also the league is getting bigger. Like if you look at all the people that are the best players or projected to be the best players, we've got Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, we've got Wembanyama coming up. We've got like all these players that are really tall. And if you don't have a legit center, at least at like he's got to be good at something. If Vooch can't really play offense anymore, I don't even know who their backup center is.
Yeah, no, I actually don't. Now that I think about it, I don't know who their backup center is. I don't know. I feel like he's not that bad. I'm probably not as hard on the Vooch. I feel like he's got a pretty decent pick and pop game. Although I am happy every time he takes a 3. But I don't know, DeMar DeRozan, dude. Like, he had a pretty good season. He's in pretty good nick. My boy Kobe White, bro.
I forgot about Kobe White and you.
Hey, for some of the OG listeners of the podcast would fondly remember, when we first. I mean, I've been singing this dude's praises since the start, since his rookie year. So, like, man's, he's got talent, and I feel like, maybe not 10, maybe 9 or 8, but what was your next team?
Okay, next team was the Wizards.
Who's even on that team other than Kyle? Tingus.
Yeah, so I love that your first name on that team is Kuzma. Bradley Beal, they also have.
Sorry, mate. I keep thinking about Tingus Fingers and the Kuz.
So, all right.
Oh
So
yeah,
here's why I
I'm
like
okay
this.
with that.
Yeah, I like this team for the ninth seed because for me, they've been a bit of a train wreck. And if I'm that team, it's like I've got two people on max contracts here. We can't
Yeah.
tank because we have those two people. It's like, unless they want to trade both of them or one of them and just go for Victor later this year, which I can also see happening. I think it like doesn't make sense to their fans because what are their fans looking forward to? Like they don't have any young stars really. They
But
got
what have
Kuzma.
they ever looked forward to, Jez? The thing, the thing that's kind of funny about the Wizards, I don't know if you remember at the very start of last season, they came out of the gate really hot. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were like 10-2 at like the start, and then it kind of all went to custard. But like, I feel like, yeah, Bradley Beal, I forgot about him. I feel bad now. Yeah, dude is actually a walking bucket. And I don't know if Tingus can play half decent, maybe they'll be all right. Kuzma's actually not been bad from three. So yeah, I don't hate that.
I just think that they're just kind of like everyone on their team is kind of like I think all their people that are the other people that we haven't mentioned on their team are all kind of like in that sort of just below Kuzma category. Like I don't think they have any true
Rui
duds.
Hachimura?
Yeah,
Good.
he's on there. Yeah, he's good. He's all right.
Yeah.
He's like a poor man's
Yeah.
Kuzma kind of, I think.
That's tough. Mate, if you're a B grade Kuzma, that's tough.
Snoozma.
Kuzma, mate. Absolutely stinks.
But I did get to while I was in Greece. I got to watch a bit of Porzingis on Latvia, and the man was just aggressive at the rim. He was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna dunk on everyone. I'm 7'3", let's do it. So
Wow.
yeah, so if he brings that into this season, I think it could be something. And he was looking a little bit better defensively, but it's Eurobasket. What does that mean in the NBA? I don't really know.
It's like watching the NBL, mate. I'm sorry, it's not happening.
All right, next team that I had, number 8, was the Hawks. This is only because I think they are okay, but I just don't know what they're excellent at as a team,
Yeah, they've just been defensively crap for so long. But they got DeJounte Murray. Is that who they picked up?
Yeah.
Which I feel like could actually be a bit of a sleeper move. Like it could actually be kind of good for them. My problem with the Hawks is I low-key feel like they've peaked. Like that's my hot take. Like I can't see them repeating Eastern Conference Finals appearance from 2 years ago. I just can't see that happening genuinely. Like that was such a fluke ride. And like Trae Young's great, sure, they've got some good shooters, but they're so like they're caught in that awful like middle, like okay team, but they're not. I don't know how they go to the next level.
Yeah, and also I think Trae Young did peak because the rules have changed since when he was.
Yeah.
Do you remember that season? That was like the biggest
Yeah.
foul calling season. Everyone's like, they have to change this, but that is perfect for Trae Young.
Yeah. Also, I'm not sure if you're aware, but they've changed the take foul rule now. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like for a team that's defensively as shocking as them, the take foul was like a crutch that they could lean on. So now I just think like, any team that's even a little bit okay at transition offense, like that's an easy bucket. They literally just have to get past anyone and they're fine. Like they just have to have an open run to the rim, which happens all the time in basketball, and it's a wrap.
All right, so that's the Hawks. And also, just unfortunately for the Hawks, I just don't see how they're better than any of the next 7 teams we've got. And I just don't know how they're going to get better than any of these teams because they're not. For me, it's not even really that close. And in 7, I had the Celtics, which we discussed last pod.
Tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we discussed it last pod, but it's just we both feel like there's too much going on there for this. Like, I understand they were just in the NBA Finals, but to me, this season is going to be so chaotic this season.
I mean, it's just the one thing they've struggled with is like their culture and unity as a team. Like that's the one thing they got under wraps and now it's gone. Like there's still talent. No doubt they're a great team. They know each other. They've been together for a while, so give them credit for that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how a coach is going to come in and like, is he? Yeah, I don't know.
And I also think like they're going to, like they signed Gallinari and he's done his ACL, so he's out for the season.
Tough.
Yeah.
That's so tough. I saw that. I actually felt bad for Gallinari as well. Like, you never want to see
Yeah.
someone do an ACL, but just as a GM move, like, that's so unfortunate. Like, because the dude's already old. Like, that's literally his career. Like, he's not they're just going to pay him out and be
Yeah.
like, yeah, be done with it. I'm
Uh,
so like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and like Horford's also going to be rested a lot more because he, I think, was like good because he was kind of rested heading into the playoffs. Like he was able to muster up something, you know?
Yeah, I just again like that felt like similar to the Hawks. Like he caught lightning in a bottle
Mm.
for like the month or 6 weeks that the playoffs were going for, and I can't see him like he's not going to have a whole season of that.
Nah.
And if you're not going to have a whole season of that, it's going to be hard for him to just drum that up again in like 10 months time or whatever it is, 8 months time. So yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know about them. All right, so here's my top bracket of the East. This is and I'm going to go in reverse order. So
Go.
6 Raptors, 5
Okay.
76ers,
Rip.
yeah, 4 Miami, 3 yeah, 3 Cleveland, 2 Milwaukee, and I'm going to go the Nets in the number 1 slot here. So just to go backwards again for you, Raptors in 6, 76ers in 5th, Miami 4th, Cavs 3rd, Bucks 2nd, Nets number 1.
I'm all for the Cleveland Cavaliers, mate, but my goodness. I mean, have you got some money? Or do you have an inside scoop that we don't know about, mate? I think you got money on this. Yeah, the Toronto Raptors, again, are in that kind of midway, like, have been good, but just haven't been the same, like, in the last few years. So I don't know. I think they'll be way lower than that. I don't even think they'll be that 6th or whatever you gave them. Who was your next? Philadelphia 76ers at 5th?
Yeah.
Although I tend to agree, that is a rough assessment. I feel like they're aiming for better and should be better, but I'm also not surprised.
I think a lot of the reason people are projecting them to do better is a lot of people are buying into James Harden has gotten in shape. And I really feel like there's a fundamental thing that's happened to him where he's not as athletic as he used to be, even in shape. Yeah. I think that the problem with him is he also is in that Trae Young category, which was like, I utilize fouls as part of my offense so that you have to kind of be really disciplined. And he's just, A, not going to get them because refs really don't like him. And B, the rules have changed. So I think like people are like, he's going to have a great season. He might shoot really well this season, but I don't love him coming back and being like, oh, he's like a first team all NBA guy. I think he'll be lucky to make any of the all team NBAs, to be honest. So,
dude, for me, the 76ers are the Clippers of the East. Okay. Every year, people are like, "This is it. Trust the process. It's gonna happen. They're gonna get a ring," and then they suck again, and you're like, "All right." Who was at 4th?
Miami.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm happy with that.
Cavs, all right, at 4. The reason I've done this is because I love them. I love the way the team's constructed. It makes total sense to me. They can work on both sides of the ball now because their 2 guards are both really fun guards and their big line is all good defenders. And then also, people might forget Ricky Rubio's coming back this year, which I love for them as well. Yeah. So I just feel like there's a lot going for them as like a team that could sneaky be like, oh, this team's like kind of sneaky deep and sneaky good and...
Yeah. I get you on the depth. I maintain, I think I said this last time, I have no idea how the Cavs got that trade for Donovan Mitchell. I felt like they gave up almost nothing. Yeah. Like, especially after the Rudy Gobert trade, I was like, no one's going to get Donovan Mitchell. Apparently the Cavs drive a really good deal. Yeah, they are weirdly deep. And yeah, I don't know if I see them that high, but I still like them. Mm-hmm. I like their chances. Who'd you have it? So you had the Bucks at 2.
Yep.
And then 1, I'm happy with that.
Nice. All right. So that's and obviously just for people listening, for me the Nets 1. I feel like you got to pick like they're either gonna have a great season or a bad season. I do think they might rest people, so it might fluctuate, but I do think that they're gonna try hard. And I think Ben Simmons has a whole season to play here, really, basically, because he's had a couple years off, fresh body, he'll be ready to go. All right.
Told you, mate. Defensive Player of the Year.
That's
Book it right now.
I love it. All right, let's jump into the West, the bottom of the West. So, here is my 15 to 10, okay?
Go.
In the bottom spot, I'm going the Jazz. They're clearly tanking this year. I think they're all in. So I can see them being dead last. Spurs are also tanking this year.
Oh,
So those two teams, I guess it doesn't matter which order they're in, but those two are for me.
I don't think you can say the Spurs are tanking when they've got nothing to tank, mate. Just
Yeah, they could play their full roster all year and still tank.
that
Uh,
seriously.
um, then I've got in the 13th spot the Rockets. I just still don't think they're better than
Yep.
any of the other teams above them. 12th, I've got the Thunder.
It's tough, but true.
Yeah, and then 11th, I've got the Blazers, who I think are weirdly going to go for it and not make the play-in. That's I think they're going to go for it for like the first 2 months, and it's going to be like a 500 record, and then something's going to happen, and they're just like, let's just call it.
It's just, the Blazers, it's such a disappointing team to watch.
It is.
They are just so like hopeless. They come off as like the person who was told they can sing by their mum, but like actually can't. Like, I don't know why anyone has any faith in this team. They have not a skerrick of like hope. I don't, and it's just really like I don't know why Dame. Dude must just be patient, like in buckets, because yeah, and I think you're right. I think they're going to start the season like they have like every season since they made the Western Conference Finals in like 2017 or whatever it was. They're going to start every season the same. Nah, this is it. We're gonna play good, whatever. We're gonna make a drive, and then it's gonna be like 20 games in. And Dame's gonna like, I don't know, maybe just strain his wrist, maybe even just take one game off or whatever. They're gonna, and then they're just gonna be like, oh no, wait, hang on, we can't do anything. So yeah,
and I think there's also a sneaky subplot there, which is that Jeremy Grant's on the team now, which I love, but I also recognize that he thinks of himself as like a 1 or 2 on like a really good team, and he really isn't.
I see Jeremy Grant as kind of like Mason Plumlee 2.0. Where it's like the second you see teams running offensive plays through one of these guys, red flags, bruh. Red flags. So yeah, no, I think you're right. Jeremy Grant totally sees himself as like a legitimate second, third option. And the man is like a second, third option for the second stringers.
Yeah. Like, I can actually, to be fair, I could see him being like, if he stepped into a 6th man role on a good team, I can see that being okay. But
yeah, maybe like if he was like 6th man on like an up and coming team like Timberwolves, maybe, or like Grizzlies, I could see him like even the Pelicans actually. I like that for him. But yeah, anyway, let's keep going.
All right, let's keep going. All right, so in our next bracket, we've got, so this is the play-in bracket.
Yeah,
I've got it as follows: Kings, Pelicans.
Yeah.
So in the 10th spot, Kings, 9th spot, Pelicans, 8th spot, Lakers, 7th spot, Mavs.
Oh wow, rough on the Mavs. They made it to the Western Conference Finals.
I know, but I was just looking at the rest of the teams and the regular season, and I just don't know how to put them higher than any of these other teams.
Generous with the Lakers, to be honest.
So
I feel like they are. Yeah.
Like there's a trade happening there for sure with a team that stinks. And like this is the kind of thing where they could end up with like, if they do it right, like they could end up with someone, and this isn't a huge flex given we just roasted him, but Jeremy Grant could be on their team. So that's something to look forward to if you're a Lakers fan.
If that's what you got in your sights, you might actually. To be fair, I know we did just roast the man. But actually, on the Lakers, he could maybe get some. He might make his way to my fantasy team. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
all right.
He could actually get. I could see him putting up like a 10 and 10, like somewhat regularly. Just because, like, yeah, who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's a pretty uncontroversial play-in bracket.
And like, also, I do.
Yeah, I'm really looking.
I was just going to say quickly, just on the Lakers, I do think that AD and LeBron are really going to try this season, because I think last season was just embarrassing. Finishing 11th with those 2 on your roster is just devastating. So I do think they're actually going to try.
I think AD's definitely feeling like I've got something to prove.
Mm.
I can play a season without hurting myself. And to be fair, like we rip on LeBron, but like I mean, the dude's like 40 and still actually putting up points and stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Mm. All right, so yeah, and Pelicans in ninth. I just feel like they are going to try. They could go higher than that for me, but I just feel like they're probably like a season away from being like where I feel like like where the Grizzlies or like where the Suns were 2 years ago, where they were like on the
Yeah,
fringe. They almost
yeah.
were really good. I feel like it's like that's kind of where the Pels can be in like a year or so.
Yeah, they just need Zion to like string together a season or two.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, I feel the exact same way. They're like one superstar from actually like turning.
Mm.
I also love CJ McCollum on that team as well. Like that
Yeah.
is such an underrated move.
Mm.
Like, and this is why I'm so depressed with the Trailblazers because I'm like, that's the kind of thing Dame needs to do. He needs to go to a team where he'd actually elevate everyone else around him.
Mm.
Like CJ McCollum is such a like linchpin of that Pelicans team. I actually would like maybe actually watch some of their games.
Yeah.
Which
And
you
like,
know,
can you also imagine? Like, can you imagine if instead of trading CJ, they traded Dame to the Pelicans? Like, that would be a really lethal team. You know what I mean?
wow, yeah, that'd be super lethal.
Yeah. All right. So that's that. And so yeah, with the Mavs, like I said, I couldn't put them above any of the other teams because I just don't love. Who's their second best player? Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't love that being the second best player on your team.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I think the only thing with the Mavs is like, I guess what Luke has proved to us is that he can carry the whole team.
Yeah.
So it's like he can pull a LeBron and carry the whole team, and it might actually work. So like, whilst it does, like, part of me is like, no, it was sort of a fluke. They got to the Western Conference Finals. Another part of me is like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe he could totally do that again. And if they made a big trade, he'd get a second option, like maybe Dame. Like, that would be kind of scary.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. That would actually be lethal.
That would be insane. Like, if they shared ball handling duties, yeah, that could be crazy. Anyway.
Yeah. I like that fake trade. I like that one. Because I feel like if Portland decides early, like, let's just tank this, I feel like that would be a nice move for them.
Dame would request a trade, 100%.
Yeah. All right. So let's go up into the top bracket here. This is the final bit of the ladder. All right. I want to get your thoughts on this. All right. So here we go. Yeah. So I've got in 6th position, the Clippers. In 5th position, the Timberwolves. In 4th position, Golden State. 3rd,
what?
Grizzlies. I've got the Grizzlies in 3rd, Suns in 2nd, and the Nuggets in the 1st spot. So I'll go through that again quickly for you. Clippers in 6, Timberwolves in 5, Warriors in 4, Grizzlies in 3, Suns in 2, Nuggets in 1. What's your immediate thoughts on that, mate?
More wacky tobacco is my thought. I actually don't hate the Clippers one. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you have at 5th?
Timberwolves.
I mean, I hope they get there. You're generous. That kind of feels like a Cavs-esque sort of prediction. As much as I like their roster and I feel like they've actually got a really good chance, they seem like the next step Pelicans style. Like Pelicans if they were a bit better. And I don't know if that means that they're at 5th. So that thing's a bit high. 4th at Golden State. Probably the roughest for the reigning champs to be getting a 4th. I don't know how that happens.
That has a little bit of a Draymond and sort of like we're just gonna rest during the regular season because we played the full postseason vibe to me. Like it doesn't have to do with their skill. It's got more to do with management of the roster.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, fair enough. Who'd you have at 3rd?
Grizzlies.
Yeah, I can see that. And then you had 2nd, you had the Suns.
Yeah.
I love that you're a believer, even if they got creamed by the 36 the other day. Even though we were blasting the NBL before, obviously there's even an inkling of talent. But yeah, no, I think the Suns definitely, they scream to me, everyone's pouring crap on us, but we're actually still good. They've had two and a half incredible seasons. I can't see them anywhere out of the top 6.
Yeah.
No way. And then, I don't know about the Nuggets at 1, to be honest with you. I probably put them more at 3rd, to be honest.
Okay.
I think it'd be Golden State, Suns, Nuggets, Grizzlies. But I don't know. Nuggets could be really exciting. Poor Jokic. The dude has been he's been doing that hard work, mate, and finally he's got some assistance. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I guess the case for me for the Nuggets is that I like the way Jokic plays isn't super physically demanding, right? He's not like Ja Morant, where he's flying around and could probably tear an ACL at the, if something goes wrong. He's not really going to get injured, I don't think. I think he carried their team really well last year. Now they're just getting 2 extra stars, and I think it's going to mean they can rotate each other out a little bit more. So even just replacing that team with either Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray every other game, even if it's just one of them, that improves their win percentage so much because it makes everything so much easier for everyone. And they've still got Aaron Gordon, who I don't know if I've bought into yet as a basketball player, but he is something,
Kind of he's really good at dunking, but is he really good at basketball? Is kind of what he. And the other thing is, I haven't bought into the Michael Porter Jr. hype either, to be honest.
Okay.
I think I might have said this before. He's kind of like a second grade Porzingis to me, like a poor man's Porzingis, which is really tall, but doesn't have is never in the paint, isn't getting boards, and just always settles for the deep 2 or the 3. And it's unless they're just splashing shots, they're literally useless and will go 1 for 8. So, but having said that, Jamal Murray is an absolute bucket. So they are a genuine, especially, and I really love that Jokic doesn't play a super physical brand of basketball and is still just insanely good. And it doesn't even show any signs of declining.
No, he's on such an upward trajectory.
Yeah. So,
all right, man. Yeah. Well, that's been the whole episode today. Longest episode ever, excitingly. Covered a lot. Hope people have enjoyed the conspiracy theories and and our thoughts on each team. I liked, once again, we've always got to dig into the Magic. I like that you still got that in today, Tommy.
Mate, the only thing that's entertaining about the Magic is talking crap about them. And that's unfortunately the best thing I can say about that franchise. Wow.
Any final thoughts, mate, on the season just before we get into it?
No, I'm very excited. Preseason was good, except for the Bucks' performance in it. So I'm keen for the season, see how it goes. And yeah, what about you, mate? What final thoughts, reflections do you have?
I am just so interested to see what happens with the Lakers. That for me is really going to be the thrill. In my heart, I hope it's a disaster. I feel like I could kind of go for another one of these seasons because it is fun.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see. I want to see what trade they make. I really I feel like they want to make a Hield and Buddy Hield and Miles Turner trade, and I feel like they're going to make a Jeremy Grant trade. So I'm excited to see what happens there as well.
I just want an excuse to talk more rubbish about the Lakers. And if the last few seasons has taught us anything about them, it's that you don't need much of an excuse, and they always give you fodder. So I'm ready, mate. And if nothing else, I'm just excited to watch Russell Westbrook lowlights. That's just entertaining. That's the price of admission, really. Paid right there in full. So yeah.
All right, dude. Well, I'll check in with you soon. And until next time, as we said last time, Finn. We don't have the ending, so I feel like that's good.